we presented this kid to Dr. Greenspan, and I'm going to call him Paul because in the book that we are hoping will be published in the next couple months, that we wrote together with Dr. Greenspan, we called him Paul at the mom's request. That's his middle name. So I'm just going to call him Paul, just for the sake of consistency in the video I put together. The first thing that we always do with Dr. Greenspan was to have Mom talk about a developmental history. So I took a transcript of the developmental history. So let me read some of the things that Mom had to say developmentally about him. You know, very typically parents say that their children are typical to a certain age, and then something happened. They're not sure what it was that happened. Very often they point to 18 months, and they say at 18 months we had a regression, and you heard her talk in the piece that we just showed about it was like his insides were stolen. But parents very typically say this. This is not an uncommon thing. So Mom actually said that to us, and she said it wasn't until he was about a year old, and this is the quote, "We began to see the signs of what we know now as autism. He started to flap his hands, he had very loud vocal stimming, and he was holding his breath. I rushed him to the pediatrician's office, and he assured me it was okay. Kids do that," he said. At 15 months, Paul was exposed to tuberculosis. He tested positive, so Mom gave him antibiotics for 6 months. It was horrific, she says. Basically, I had to shove it in his mouth and hold his mouth closed until he swallowed it. After that, he lost the few words he was saying. His hand flapping went crazy. He stopped answering to his name, and the pediatrician said, maybe he's deaf. They had his hearing tested, of course, and they didn't really know what to do. His hearing was in normal ranges, so the pediatrician said to him, he's a boy. This is also something that gets said to people all the time. He's a boy, so you have to wait. Boys develop more slowly. She said everybody told her that. She said on his second birthday, she really knew that something was wrong. And this is the quote. I remember I took out the cake and he refused to blow out the candles. To comfort myself, I said, maybe he just needs a nap. But he didn't need a nap. He wanted nothing to do with me. He just took a book, sat in a corner, and wanted nothing to do with anybody. That's when he started to cut himself off from everybody. This was a kid, still continuing her words, this was a kid who used to answer the phone, who answered the door, who ran to the door when his dad came home from work screaming, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Then, I don't know, he was not my kid anymore. I always explain it that someone came and stole my kid's insides and left me with a shell. I no longer knew him. They got the diagnosis of PDD-NOS. Then he got all kinds of services. He got ABA, speech and OT, and Mom says, Paul hated ABA, but I let it go for 8 months because I wanted to give it a chance. It didn't work, so I stopped it. During the ABA, he got very, very aggressive. He loved the speech and OT because the therapists were nice to him. I wouldn't say he made much progress, but it wasn't so bad. He went to another school after that where he was in a 12-1-1 class, and he got totally lost. He got ABA there, and speech and OT again. He hated it. It was horrible to drag him to school every morning where he hated it. He stopped saying anything. He was not saying any words, not even no or yes. I would drag him to the bus. I would put him on, and it was a nightmare. Seeing him like that, I had to pull him out. I took him to my parents. So Mom took him out of the school. He was placed in a regular classroom with a shadow. He also received therapy outside school. When I saw the large class and I looked at what was happening, I knew in my heart that he wasn't going to make any progress. So once again we came back to New York. Now he was 5. And then they went to a public school, and he liked it a lot because he didn't get any ABA there. And he did very well, she reports. And he got potty trained immediately. He took his he really became a little bit more independent. He tied his shoes. He loved his teacher. That was the key for him, that he just loved his teacher. And the second year, again, he did well, loved his teacher. He made great progress. And then she started to look for other interventions. She said, I went to a medical doctor at this time because I wanted to try chelation. This doctor talked me out of it and suggested I try vitamins first. He wanted to get his body ready in case we had to try chelation. He had B12 injections, iron, calcium, and a multivitamin. He also started probiotics, enzymes, omega-3. He takes 6 different kinds twice a day. I have to measure it for him. On these vitamins, his speech peaked. He went from saying weird words. He would say "at" for cat. Cookie was ooh-ah, for example. His father and I were the only ones who knew what he was saying. When he went to school and asked for something, he was not understood. By February, though, his speech got clearer, and he could say cat and doggy. In the summer, I moved to the next side of the school, and he did not like it, as he did not know anyone at this school. Soon after this, my father died, and I had to go home for 3 days, and it was hard for me, and I think it was hard for him. When I got home, I had to rush him to the hospital with appendicitis. Soon after, my biomedical doctor suggested we try hyperbaric treatment. I looked into it, and I did not see any harm in it, so we rented a chamber. I don't know if you've seen the chambers. They're long tubes, you know, they look like little mini submarines kind of, with like little porthole windows in them, and they raise the pressure in them so that oxygen, pure oxygen, gets sort of infused in you. They invented them for the bends and for gangrene, I think, and now people are using them for autism treatment. Paul loved it. He would come home from school and jump into it all his own. In the first month, he did 54 hours of hyperbaric treatment, where he had to sit there for an hour and a half at a time. He did beautifully. In May, he was hurt in school. He came home with markings on his legs. I think that's when everything went haywire. Paul got aggressive. His behavior changed. I rented the chamber again, and it was a nightmare. From him jumping in it happily, he was screaming and crying. He did not want to go in it. I had no idea what to do. I did force him to go in it. We did get 129 hours. I don't know what good it did, because we did not see any progress, none whatsoever. I never rented another chamber again. Paul started this year at Rebecca School, and what a change. I never have to drag him out of my house, drag him down the stairs to bring him to school. He happily wakes up in the morning, does all of his morning routines, goes into his bedroom to change, and comes downstairs. It's unbelievable to see such a change in such a short amount of time. Paul's speech has also come along. Out of the blue, he's saying to me, "Mom, I want milk and cookies, please. I want water, please." It's an amazing change. And he is saying the words more clearly now. One day we were standing at the bus stop, and I asked him, "What's the weather like?" And I was going to continue, and he interrupted and said, "It's raining." And I was totally shocked. So the next day I asked him, sometimes I don't believe what I hear him say. Mom got choked up at this point. She continued, I asked him, "What's the weather like?" And he said, "It's sunny." So I knew he was with it, and that these answers had not been drilled into him. And that's what I want. I don't want him to be robotic. I want him to tell me what he sees, what he feels.
Us to getting it, and to really taking their signal seriously when you're not getting it. Because you can't force it, but okay, I didn't get it, we'll try again. I think that's what you were doing, and that seems